Well, thank you very much for that kind introduction. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. This is my first UKIP speech that I've given since a little mishap that happened on May the 6th. Now, contrary to popular belief, I am not a conspiracy theorist, and I do not believe that the accident was engineered by Herman Van Rompuy. I think it was one of those things that just happens in life. I managed to put UKIP on the front pages for the whole of election day, so I trust you're all going to thank me for that. And I suffered somewhat grievously, but I'm back in business. And it may be the first UKIP speech, but I have done a couple of things. I've been back to Brussels. And my first day there, give him credit, he didn't like me very much, but this funny little chap from a non-country called Belgium, the EU president, who of course, as you know, is paid 320 grand a year without having been elected, and therefore he cannot be removed, the man who really does have the charisma of a damp rag. And I won't mention bank clerks because I've had to apologise to those already. But Van Rompuy did cross the room and shake my hand and say, Mr. Farage, are you recovering from the accident? I said, yes, Mr. President, I'm back and I intend to make your life as difficult as I possibly can. And the other little outing I had was I turned up on Question Time a few weeks ago, the last Question Time of the series, just up the road in Hartlepool. And I quite enjoyed the programme. And afterwards, there was a dinner in a magnificent chateau owned by the chap who runs Middlesbrough Football Club. And an amazing dinner was served. We had lemon soles, Montrachet wines, absolutely amazing. And after we'd eaten, the waitress came round and she said, would you like a liqueur? I said, that really is music to my ears. So rarely now do you hear anyone say that? I said, yes, I'd have a large vintage port, please. And sitting next to me was brother Bob Crow of the RMT, full-time member of the British Communist Party, who said, yeah, love, I'd love one of them and all. And I said, Bob, what would your members who drive the London Underground and drive the buses think of you? Sitting with me in a chateau, drinking large vintage port. He said, well, hopefully, Nigel, they're not going to find out, are they? And gave me quite a menacing look. So my advice to you is, if you do meet Bob Crow in a social environment, don't tell the gossip columns, otherwise you may well finish up beneath the underground. So I've had a couple of outings, and I've also had time to sit at home and watch the telly, because for the first 7 or 8 weeks I couldn't do very much. And some of you may remember that 3 or 4 years ago, I used to say that if you look at the leaders of the 3 so-called main parties, they look the same and they sound the same. They have no major policy differences, and you literally cannot put a cigarette paper between them. I was saying that then, but my goodness me, with this coalition, isn't it true now? Yeah. You know, Mr. Cameron, call me Dave, who's named his daughter after a Cornish village. I mean, they'll do anything, these guys, to court popularity in marginal seats like North Cornwall, won't they? Mr. Cameron is loving this coalition because he's able to turn his back on every single promise he's ever made. We've now got Ken Clarke, the Justice Secretary, saying that shoplifters, for minimal shoplifting offences, will now not go to prison. We've had Mr. Cameron reversing his promise on giving us a referendum on the European Treaty. Every which way you look, we see British people having their liberties taken from them. We see our own people being shipped off to Greece and goodness knows where else, and this government couldn't give a damn. And if some of you were a little bit disappointed that we only managed to increase our score in the general election by 50%, then don't be disappointed, because my message to you tonight is that UKIP has a more important role in British politics today than it has ever had. We are the opposition, and we are the only party that will stand up and fight for the ancient rights and liberties of the British people, and we will go in. We will go in. We will go into the local elections next year, taking our message and fighting on that basis. And I can tell you the last local election result we had was in Burnham Beeches, just outside Slough on Thursday, where the UKIP candidate scored 34% of the vote. You know, we're not a party that is against Europe. And don't let people say that. It's not Europe we're against. It's not the European people we're against. It's the institutions that have been created there, and it's the British politicians that have allowed them to control our lives. We want less government. We want small government. We want democracy. And we want to stand up and to make sure that our children and grandchildren can grow up in a country that they can call their own. Now, as you may know, Lord Pearson of Rannoch has stood down as the leader of the UK Independence Party, and therefore we have a leadership election. And I've been asked by one or two people tonight whether I'm going to stand in that contest or not, and the answer is, I'll tell the conference next Friday at Torquay. I haven't yet made my mind up whether I'm going to go for it again or not. We'll see. Whether I do or whether I don't, I'm absolutely committed to this party. And can I say that to Godfrey, to Jane, to everybody that's involved with the Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire group of UKIP, that coming here this evening and meeting, I haven't met you all yet, but of those I've met so far, how encouraging it is for me to see a really sensible, down-to-earth, hard-working group of people who are absolutely committed to the same principles that I've fought for all these years. We will take this party much, much further forward, but we must do so remembering that however serious our cause is, we need to have a bit of fun as well. And it looks like tonight we're going to have a lot of fun. So thank you very much indeed.
To find out more about who we are and what we stand for, go to the UK Independence Party website at www.ukip.org.